Okay, we'll just recap the last game. Kind of like we saw and talked about during the game and after the game. Explosive on the offensive side. We did some things on defense where I thought we pursued well, and I thought we created some confusion for the quarterback, kind of put him in scramble mode. He was elusive. He was a very good player and difficult to tackle, but we had guys at the point of attack and multiple guys to be able to tackle. Special teams were improved, which is what we wanted. That will need to continue. And I thought the guys came back on Sunday very focused, just to get better this week, to prepare. New game, new challenge, new opportunity. We have to travel again, so being prepared for that. And then just all the things that come along with going on the road and playing in a loud stadium against a very good football team. So Oklahoma State, 2-0. Coach Gundy has been there quite a while now and has done a great job and has built that program to where it is. Defensively, very solid, 7th nationally in sacks, 9th nationally in total defense. So they're doing some very good things. Structure-wise, multiple. We'll see some different fronts, I anticipate, but kind of a 4-2-5 style of defense, multiple coverages. They do have a new defensive coordinator this year. Offensively, explosive, like they've always been, and they do a great job. I've watched their offense over the years. Actually went there a few years back when I was at Texas, and Dana Holgerson was the OC, so I got a chance to kind of go in the facility there, do some professional development. Played there when I was at Texas, so know that environment, or at least playing in that environment. But their offense is explosive. They're able to do about everything they want to do: run the ball, throw the ball. The quarterback is very good, accurate, has proven that. Tall guy, can move. So, major challenge for our defense to try to slow them down. Special teams, it's still early in the year. I think their specialists are good, and, they've done a good job in those areas. But, again, 2 games to kind of evaluate this season. Don't know what all they have planned. We just have to be prepared. We have to do our jobs and make sure that we're ready to go out there and just play and hopefully be better. Again, that'll be another challenge for special teams. How do we create field position? How do we continue to do well at the specialists, with the specialists, and hopefully we can create some better field position on the return game, and then maybe have an opportunity, to cover and eliminate yardage after catch on our special teams. So, really good team, another challenge, and for us, it's still about us. It's still about our focus. It's still about us taking care of little things. It's not just football related, going to class, being on time, those type of things that actually matter, little distractions that come up, just, trying to be that focused football team. And, that is the goal each and every week. So if we do that, we prepare the right way, then we just have to go play. And, I think our guys understand that. So not really going to, make it any bigger than it is right now, other than we have to just take care of our business. I mean, it's really what it comes down to. And we've been able to do that the last 2 games, so we feel like that formula works. So I don't think we're going to deviate too far from it, and, make sure that, we continue to do the things that have got us to where we are right now, and then go out there and hopefully play our very best. We are going to play early. That's a new challenge. I think we're about an hour away, bus ride, so we're going to be up early. We're going to get there. We're going to play earlier. It's probably going to be hot, so we're going to have to prepare for that, just the heat, and be ready to go that way. But other than that, this week is really about us, and I think our guys came focused Sunday. I think our guys seen around the building today, they're watching tape, they're studying, they're trying to be students of the game, and if that continues, great. If that doesn't continue, then, we're going to just hurt ourselves more than anything. So with that, questions?
I was curious. Oh, go ahead.
So with your guys' impressive wins, obviously, at Troy and just this last week with UConn, you guys are kind of throwing up in the ranks. Players, the team is just moving up all across the board in the ranks. What do these rankings mean to you, and do they define your success in any way?
They don't. What they mean, those things are good for recruiting. It's good to have your name mentioned as one of the top teams because you're getting publicity for that. As far as what we do in here, we never talk about it. That's really not in our control. our control is that we can go prepare and try to win this game too. Now we're 2-0. How do we get to be 3-0? That's really the mission for us this week. But it's not a bad thing. I'm not going to say it's a bad thing for a program to be in a top 25, to be a top 25 team. You're getting recognition for it, and people see that. They get excited about it. But as far as what really happens inside here, that's never talked about.
With Hightower, we asked you about him after the game, but I mean, I'm curious, how did you guys find him? I mean, who was involved in his recruitment? I mean, the guy had 13 catches. It wasn't like he, was putting up crazy numbers last year. So how did you guys kind of get him, and for him to kind of come in and kind of seamlessly be able to, contribute for you guys? How big has that been?
Yeah. I don't know seamlessly if that's he's worked really hard. It's been, he was going to be here in the spring, and there were some things that he had to get done. So it's been a process for him to get here. Now, to John's credit, he's done all the things we've asked him to do, and I think he's worked really hard. Darren Usher, Eric Keesaw, I'm not sure who else was involved. They were really the primary ones, and there was a connection with a guy that had coached John Hightower and a guy that had coached Cedric Wilson. So there was that connection there, and he knew how well Ced had done for us, and he had John and said, hey, these guys they had some similarities, size and length and all those things. I think John's a different player. Ced, they're both, I think John showed himself in the game, and hopefully that continues, but it was a process to get him here, and he had to do a lot of things, not in a bad way. We just had to do things to get here and get here in the summertime and get acclimated to what we do, to learn the system. I think game 2 was perfect for him to kind of have a chance to go make those plays after going through a real week of preparation for Troy, kind of getting in there and getting an idea of the speed of the game and how we do things and how we want to operate. And then to see him shine in the second game was good. And I think a lot of that has to do with Brett, his leadership too. Brett spent a lot of time with those wide receivers, getting those guys dialed in. And if a guy is just needs a little extra help, he's going to do that. He's going to spend time with them. So, but Darren Usher, Eric Keesaw, other coaches that were involved. I was obviously involved in it, and talking with them and all those things. But they were the ones that got the work done.
What in the here and now, obviously this is a big game for you guys, 2 ranked teams, but also just in the grander scope of having a series with a school like Oklahoma State for you guys, a conference, they're not on the West Coast, but what does a series like this mean to you guys, and how important is it for your program to have a series like this?
Yeah, well, I think it kind of shows how our scheduling has changed, as we look to the future and the Oklahoma States, the Florida States, the Michigan States, those type of teams that we're playing, and hopefully they're home and home. They end up being that way, which is what it should be. To me, that's kind of the part of how our program's developed over time, and that, I think those games are good for our program. I think they're good to have teams like that here. It's exciting for our team because it's not common. I think our players a little bit like, all right, Oklahoma State, well, let's find out who these guys are. They know who they are because they've seen them over the years be successful. But now you're really diving into, who are the personnel, who are the people that we're going to play against. What's Stillwater like? What's the stadium like? Some of those things, that's what kind of makes it fun for Boise State and Oklahoma State to play each other is you don't see each other all the time. And different conference. I've been in that conference, so I know, the teams they play and what that looks like week in and week out. But I think it's exciting. I think it'll be fun. It's a great challenge. I think our guys will enjoy it. They're looking forward to it. I think the fans will enjoy it. I think people watching, nationally will enjoy it. It'll be a good game.
When you think of Oklahoma State, you usually think of offense. They score a lot of points. They usually put a lot of yards on the board. So what makes it
Unique, and then also talk a little about the quarterback and the running back. What are their strengths?
Yeah, well, what makes their offense unique? Well, they're no huddle, and they run the ball, and they're physical when they do it. Over the years, they've been a big play offense. They have explosive plays. They can do like all of us, dink and dunk, and have some things where you just some ball control throws out there, but they take shots. They have speed on their team. They're physical up front. They can run the ball, so the play action and how they do that is impressive. So you got to be disciplined on the defensive side, and you got to be able to make some plays because you're going to get some one-on-ones, and they're going to create that. And their quarterback, I think, is doing a good job. Their running back is explosive. You know, he is. I mean, let's go back. He's much like the guy we just faced at quarterback for UConn. You know, we talked about lightning in a bottle. Really the same. A guy that can move. You know, he's just, you know, probably a guy you can't simulate in practice. You're just going to have to be prepared by mentally practicing fast to go out there and make plays on a guy like that. And then their quarterback makes good decisions. And I think over the years at Oklahoma State, their offense, they've changed. They've had different coordinators, but, you know, they've had a lot of similarities, you know, from Coach Gundy and what he wants to do and how he wants to do it. And their quarterbacks have played well. So to me, there's a system, not that they're system guys, but there's a system that they have that supports the type of players they recruit. And that team is long, they're fast, they play aggressive. On the defensive side, I think I'm very impressed with how hard they pursue to the football. I'm impressed with their tackling. I'm impressed with their speed. So, you know, this is one of the best football teams in the country, and they show it, and they play that way in the first two games that I've seen. And, you know, that's what I think makes them successful is they've got that identity. They've had it for years, and, you know, they play really good teams, and they've been one of those teams that have been the top in the Big 12 each year.
You know, probably no matter what you guys do, offense will always be the thing people focus on from the outside. But, you know, they put Randy Edsall again the other day. Seems like opposing coaches, they always walk away talking about the defense and what you guys have accomplished there the last 10 years. And just kind of how has that come about that defense has become such a huge part of this program? And with offensive-minded coaches like you and Pete, how do you make sure that group doesn't feel like, you know, we're not as important as the offense, or, you know, to feel
Sure.
like they're just as important around here?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I go back, really, if you go back my first year when I was a coordinator in 2006, I think the offense was the talk because of how we finished. You know, and we did some things throughout the season, but if you really looked at it, the games that were close, and the reason why they were close and the reason why we won was because of the way our defense played. And I knew that. I knew as a coordinator. You know, Wilcox was the defensive coordinator, and we don't beat San Jose State unless our defense goes out there and plays the way they did. So I knew that, you know, and, you know, being the coordinator on the offensive side, it was great. You know, you kind of getting the attention on that side of the ball. But I don't think that's ever been internally our focus, you know, even myself. And I'm not sitting on the defensive side of the ball. I'm not game planning there. Obviously, I naturally gravitate towards the quarterbacks and the offense, and I feel like that's my strength. So I might as well help our team best I can by going that direction. But little things that, you know, that our defense does, and Coach Avalos, the defensive staff, you know, what they do, what they need, how can we help be successful. I've never looked at it any other way. I know how important that is. I knew how important it was when I was a coordinator. So, and I think Pete did the same thing. I will sit in meetings, I'll sit in there, and I don't always know everything that's going on, but I know when guys are paying attention. I know when guys are getting the right call. I know when guys are focused. I know when guys are being taught the right way. And to me, that's the important part of what I want our team to know is that it's all three phases, and that's also for special teams. You know, we also focus on that as well. But you start to look at our seasons. You look at our Fiesta Bowls that we played in 2010. You know, we scored on defense again in that one. You look at the one in 14, how we were able to stop them at the end of the game. So I think maybe the perception is different on the outside, but on the inside, I think all the players, coaches, everybody knows the importance of what our defense has meant to our program over all the years. You know, whether it was Hawk, Pete, myself, you know, what they've been able to do. And so I really haven't looked at it like that necessarily internally. And I think our defensive coaches and players understand the importance, and they know that when they go out there and play well and they create turnovers or they're able to get 3 and outs, big things happen for us. What I do like is seeing, like in our last game, our defense playing well, our offense playing well, special teams playing well. I mean, they're feeding off each other. That's fun because now you're not competing against each other any longer. You're competing for each other.
From the moment the schedule was solidified for this year, this has been the game that's been circled. This has been the highlight game. How do you keep your team from getting too geeked out coming into the big game?
Yeah, well, that was circled from all the outside. It wasn't with us, and we addressed that right away. I think I said it early on. Everybody wanted to talk about this game, and we had to play Troy, and we had to play UConn, and everybody assumed we're just going to go and win those games and then get to this one, and that wasn't what our team was focused on. So I think the reason why you don't get too geeked out or you get too overly excited about it, because that hasn't been the focus. We have a lot of respect for Oklahoma State, but that hasn't been the driving force on everything that we've done since January 16th. Was focused on Oklahoma State. It was focused on us. It was focused on preparing for the season. It was focused on a really good Troy football team, an unknown UConn team that we saw, and then obviously getting ready for Oklahoma State. You know, we're always looking at the first 3 games early on in the year and making sure that we have a little bit of an idea going into fall camp what we're doing so we can prepare for that. But I hope our team doesn't think that way. If we do, we go out there and get geeked out. That's because we're completely getting away from our process. We're completely getting away from what we've been doing, and we're going to do our own thing. And if we do our own thing, then we'll be geeked out. We'll be geeked out. Our bench will separate. It'll be a bad game for the Broncos. So I hope our team doesn't do that. And how we do that is we've addressed it a long time ago. The focus, what we have to do, our process, deviate from it, it's not going to work. And I'm not saying it's the best. I just know that when we're all focused the same way, it works better for us. And we've already been down that road. You know, we've gotten ahead of ourselves. We did last year. You know, we probably did in that Washington State game a little bit. We got ahead of ourselves in the game, and you see how that turned out. So just focus on the task at hand. Focus on preparing today. Focus on a Tuesday. Oklahoma State's really good. So we better have our best going into this week, which we should. We've done it for 2 weeks now. We should be better. And now we got to go out there and just trust ourselves and our preparation and go play our game. I mean, it's all the cliche things that you hear, but that's really what it is. And if we make it bigger than it is, then I think, you know, we give ourselves a problem.
I'm just curious. You said that you visited Coach or the old Oklahoma State coaching staff, but what's your take on Gundy and the way that he kind of goes about his job? I mean, obviously he seems more lively.
In what way?
Well, his haircut first and foremost, but I mean, like
we're different in that. Yeah.
Just curious about the way that he kind of goes about his job, and then it's the second part too. I mean, you mentioned that they can apply pressure on the quarterback. What challenge do you guys face up front this week? And Brett's thrown from a lot of clean pockets this year. It'll probably be a little bit different, I would assume.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I don't really have a comment on how he does his job. That's his job. You know, and he's done it well. I have a lot of respect for him. I respect coaches that, you know, been at a place for quite a while, have been consistently successful, and, you know, that's a place that's got high expectations. So I don't have a comment on how he does his job. I think he's entertaining. I think he's a coach that's been doing it for a while. He's got experience, and, you know, I pay attention to what he does. I pay attention to how he does things. You can learn from guys like that. So I do respect how he goes about his business, and, you know, however that is, I think he's a funny guy too. He's got some quirks and all those things. But as far as their defense, yeah, they're very athletic. They're fast. They're physical, and, you know, I don't know how clean our pocket will be. We're going to try to make it that way the best we can. We're going to have to play fast. We're going to have to play physical. We're going to have to go in there, and they're playing at home. We're going to have to match that speed. And hopefully we can do that. I feel confident in our O-line. I feel confident in our backs that we're able to protect. But it's, like I said, a whole new challenge. And, you know, they bring guys in. They've got linebackers. They've got different guys now that they can bring off edges. They can bring inside that are speed. And speed's one thing that kind of eliminates a lot of things. You know, if you're fast and you're quick, like they show, that's very difficult. And we got to play fast too. So our practice this week, we better practice fast. We better know what we're getting into. We better watch the tape, understand the speed that we're going to face. And I do believe our team can play fast too. I think we have speed. I think we've got guys that can compete with those guys as well. We just have to do it consistently. So, and Brett's got to do a great job playing quarterback. He's got to do a great job making decisions. He's got to do a great job of taking care of the ball, and he knows those things. That's not anything that I would say differently to him. But, Yeah, they're very good, and then the challenge of just their coverages. They will play man. They will come up and they're going to challenge the receivers. Number one on the defensive side, that guy's an athletic dude. Now he can go, and he's impressive, and he plays fast, and he plays hard. So he's going to be around the ball. You got to find ways to try to, somehow keep him contained. Try to block him, do those type of things, but. We're going to have to take advantage of our opportunities, and we're going to have to do a great job of just playing fast.
So you've mentioned, special teams a few times. We've really seen them shine with these first two games. I think that's a little different from last season. What do you really attribute, that to?
Yeah. Well, I thought they did well in the second game. I think that group, they work hard. They're focused. I think it's a good group. Quinn Skillen, Hayden, Joel, Daniel, Nick, all those guys. It's always different at practice. They're always together, and they don't go to meetings. They do some things differently than everybody else does. But it's a very good group in the sense that they're mentally preparing themselves for the one shot they get, and that's the difference in specialists. They don't get a warm up; they get one shot, and everybody thinks you should be ready for that. But you got to think about it. You come in and there's been 5, 6, 7 minutes of a game. Your adrenaline's up too. You've run out of a tunnel. You're ready to go, and then you just sit there, and then all of a sudden, bang! You're up, and you got to go out and perform. You got to be ready, and you got to do it to the same level everybody else has been playing at. And this is your one shot to go out there and get it done. So, to me, that's the mental challenge of being a specialist, and just mentally preparing yourself. So a lot of their time is spent on that, I believe, and just thinking about the visualization, thinking about what they have to do, and getting themselves prepared to go out there and get it done in one shot. And it was awesome in the last game. We took the penalty, and Quinn had the inside the 10 red zone punt. He's worked really hard for that. I think that's one thing that just does not get enough attention, is how difficult that really is. We've watched hundreds of punts bounce one way or another, not land where it is, and he just nails it in a critical situation. So proud of those guys, proud they accepted the challenge, they attacked it, and then this week is no different. They're going to have to be big. We're going to need field position. We're going to need kicks. We're going to need all those things to happen for us this week.
We said that, rankings and stats, they're kind of just numbers. But, as a head coach, you have a very impressive winning record. And at Boise State, you're 6 wins away from having 50 wins here. Can you just kind of share with us, what's your personal recipe for success?
Yeah, well, the process we use, really, and I'm not going to get into that completely, but I think there's things that you do on a day-to-day basis that have to be consistent. I think there's discipline that you have to have, and it's like anything. It's like your diet, it's working out, it's all the things that we all have to do if we want to achieve something. And a lot of that has to do with discipline. Can you actually do it over and over? And if it works for you, can you continually do it? Are you tough enough to do that over and over and over? And then do you believe in what you're doing? And so to me, those are the three things that and it's very hard to do. Yeah, and I wouldn't say that I'm consistent enough on it, but I do think about it. I've gotten to a point where I'm intentional enough to think about when I deviate from those things to try to get back on track and to try to keep our guys thinking the same way, because we're all human and we're not always going to be locked in. We're not machines. We're not robots. So we get distracted. We get other things that happen to us, and then once we kind of get off track, can we just get back on it as fast as possible when needed, especially when we're here in meetings and we're here during practice, and just try to be in the moment and try to be disciplined and try to maximize that. And then when you're away from it, get away from it. That's probably the simplest way to put it. And I don't think it's complicated. I don't think there's any answer out there that nobody's not ever heard. I think it's just actually doing it. So that's what I focus on. I try to be intentional about it, and I try to be consistent with it. And I'm not there yet. We got a long ways to go, but I do think about it, and we try to make that happen day in and day out.
Be nice for you to have all hands on deck this week. What are the chances of seeing Evans and Moa back in, and even Tyson Maeva?
Yeah, good chance on all those guys. Anticipate Evans being ready to go. Anticipate Moa being ready to go. Tyson will be ready to go. Zeke Noah will be ready, and he had a little minor surgery a few weeks back. He'll be ready to go. And then Jordan Happel. So Jordan Happel had a little minor surgery this last week. That's why he was not in there. But we'll see how he feels today. We'll see how he feels tomorrow. But anticipate him being ready, and we should be at full strength. Right now, I mean, that's what I'm hoping for, and none of those guys have injuries that would not allow them right now to play. How effective they are, I don't know yet. We'll know that Tuesday's practice. Those guys will be rolling, and it'd be nice to get Octavius back. I think we need him in the rotation. It'd be nice to get David Moa back out there and playing, and that's kind of been the plan, is to hopefully have him back this week. And that's just the time frame of the way their injuries have kind of worked out a little bit. But hopefully that's the case, and no surprises right now. Austin Dixon he was sick last week, so he had pneumonia last Thursday and Friday, so hopefully he feels better this week. But other than that, all those other guys should be ready to go, and we're planning on taking them and getting them ready to play. Good.